Cover crops, the living mulches that are the caretakers of our soil while our gardens go dormant. Not every region or climate allows for gardening year-round, which leaves us with two options in the fall. Either we winterize our gardens by covering them with heavy mulches to protect the soil, or we grow a thick covering mulch which provides that barrier instead. In every instance, a living cover crop is the better option. So today, let's look at the top 5 reasons why you need a cover crop in your life right now. As well, let's look at the practical application of one of the world's most popular cover crops, fall rye. And it starts right now. Let's dive right in and talk about the first benefit of growing your own cover crops while I prepare this set of 4 8-foot raised beds. Prepping our beds is going to be easy. Like we do with all no-till, no-dig garden beds here, I simply remove the weeds by cutting them off right at the root collar. I try to disturb the soil as little as possible, of course, and that leads us right into the first benefit of cover crops. Reducing soil erosion, soil disturbance, and soil damage. With a bare soil exposed to the elements, excessive evaporation, pulverizing rain, and extreme temperature swings, you're just asking too much from your garden to recover come next spring. A living cover crop solves those things by binding that topsoil layer with its roots and also covering it simultaneously with its shoots. The second benefit for a fall cover crop is right along those lines, and that's improved soil structure as well as soil conditioning. Hard clay soils, or those soils low in organic matter, will greatly benefit by the growing and spreading roots of your cover crops. This will improve your soil's water retention capability while simultaneously improving drainage and aeration. Amazing stuff. The third benefit is something that organic gardeners love, and that's free nutrients. Cover crops, like any spent foliage, can release back into the topsoil layers tons of free macro and micronutrients, making our spring crops explode with growth, even in the absence of expensive chemical fertilizers. Fourth up on the cover crop benefit list is pest control. With our summer crops gone, right now is the time when the worst pests in our garden lay their eggs and overwinter on our soils and mulches. A thick, lush, heavily planted cover crop can bind up that topsoil layer so tightly that virtually no pest can penetrate to lay their eggs. You want organic pest control? This is even better. This is organic pest prevention. Within a single season, the level of pest reduction that you'll see is enormous and measurable. For a few pennies per square foot of gardening space, the hundreds of dollars in saved production is worth the planting of cover crops alone. Finally, the last benefit of planting a fall cover crop is weed suppression. Cover crops, by their very nature, are vigorous, robust plants that compete with the most noxious of weeds for space, nutrients, and light. By blanketing the soil with a thick layer of your favorite cover crop, not only are new weed seeds not given a chance to set themselves, but also existing weeds are quickly choked out. This form of weed control is astonishing, and once you leave behind the back-breaking hours and hours of spring weeding, you'll wonder how good you could have had it this whole time. All other benefits aside, weed control could be considered the single biggest reason to plant your cover crops. So, with the what and the why of fall cover crops all hammered out, let's go ahead and discuss the how and plant this fall rye. There's many different plants that you can use as a cover crop, depending on where you live, your climate, and the time of year. My go-to crop for this application is fall rye. Now to plant, you can place the seeds right on top of those prepared beds as is, but it may yield uneven and spotty results. Instead, I treat these as I would any seed that I'd want to germinate indoors or outside, summer or fall. That is, buried at a specific height in a quality potting or seeding mixture. To accomplish this, I first lay down a 1-inch layer of said soil mix right on the surface of my prepared bed. It doesn't have to be too thick, just enough to give a nice even blanket of soil. It may seem like a lot of soil, but it's really just a skim coat. Spread it out as level as possible, but don't worry too much, we're gonna level it properly after. With your initial layer of soil now applied, go ahead and tamp it down nice and level with a hard rake. We want that top coating of soil to be nice and level to provide a perfectly uniform landing pad for our seeds, which in turn is going to result in a perfectly even crop in the end. Lastly, to finish off preparing that landing pad for our seeds, let's give it a good soaking. Perfect. Now we're ready to seed. Common seeding rate for fall rye is about 100 pounds per acre. For the backyard gardener, I actually suggest a fairly concentrated seeding density of about 75 to 100 grams per square foot. The seed is cheap, and I really want to cover every square inch of the bed. Just seed it by hand or with a bucket. It spreads really easy, and honestly, this is the fastest part of the whole process. Here's another bed where I seeded on the low end of density, around 70 grams per square foot. Little bit lighter application, just for reference. Next up, we want to cover these seeds with that same potting mix. About 1 inch or so, not too deep. This is a grain and it's gonna sprout fast. Even though we're not using very much potting soil here, do make sure that all the seeds are covered. It really affects germination rates. As well, exposed seeds are a massive target for birds. After I cover these seeds with that last skim coating of soil, I tend not to water again from above, at least not right away, because it'll just blast that soil everywhere, exposing those seeds, exposing them to the air, to the wind, to the sun, and mostly to birds. So don't water right away. There's usually enough moisture in that lower layer to get these guys to sprout. If it is super hot or super dry when you're doing this, you may need to water from above. If you do it with a fine mist and do it carefully. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of these beds, and then we'll revisit them once they start sprouting. Fall rye, even at cooler temperatures, will sprout in less than a week. And as fast as it sprouts, it grows after that even faster. Just a couple of days after sprouting, it'll have tripled in height. And once it greens up, the growth is measurable just by looking at it. You can see why pest insects simply can't get established, and new weeds don't stand a chance. For how much this plant benefits my garden soils, it is disproportionately easy to grow. Cover crops have been used for just about as long as agriculture has existed. But when you dissect the benefits and what they add to a modern garden, you can really see how they fit into a regenerative system. A system of permaculture where the plants are your allies and the soil is your most precious resource. If you feel like your garden is tired and spent after a long productive summer, and you dread the idea of the spring weedathon, then give cover crops a try this fall. You'll be amazed at the transformative effect they can have on even your most brutal garden bed, while saving you time, effort, and money in the process. Hey, If you have any other cover crop tidbits that you'd like to share with the community, make sure to leave it in the comments down below. Also, if any of you are on Facebook, head on over and join our gardening group called Growing Better. The group has grown phenomenally fast, yet it will never lose its sense of community or its welcoming feel. If you're passionate about growing epic organic fruits, herbs, and veggies for you and your family, the Growing Better group is a great place to hang out, share, learn, and grow. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you're getting value in this and the other series that I'm doing on YouTube, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons if you'd be so kind, and I'll see you in the next video.